Hello guys, and welcome to the guide video of the Skinchanger class. So that's the last one that I've had left to do, and this one consists of runes and nature masteries. There are a number of viable ways you could do this class. I think it's pretty versatile. So the main ones I would split this into regarding skill point wise would be the melee, like a sort of melee hybrid style, and another one would be more of a pure mage, possibly with pets. So let's cover the melee one first. So I'll start with the rune, and I will mention actually the newly added Atlantis skills as well, since they've now been added. So I might as well mention them as well. Although the Titan calc doesn't seem to have them included yet. I couldn't quite get it up to 40 points, but I'll mention them anyway. Right. So for melee version of this class, so with runes you would want to go for the rune weapon skill, because well, the entire tree really, because that one's pretty much made for melee hybrids, so allow you to deal a lot of damage, particularly some elemental damage as well. And you can also go for its synergy, magical charge, since especially if you're going to be concentrating more on elemental damage. I mean, it depends on how you want to go. So you could actually concentrate more on physical if you want, or you could favor more elemental damage. I think favoring elemental damage to some degree would be actually quite suitable for this class. So in this case you would get the magical charge as well, and definitely get the energy drain. And yeah, if you have enough skill points and you are concentrating highly on elemental damage, then transmutation will also be helpful to get. If you kind of balancing between physical and elemental, then maybe transmutation might not be such a good idea. Then Sacred Rage and Frightening Power, so that would be pretty useful tree. I mean, that's good for most rune classes really, so put in as many points into that as possible. It will keep you alive for longer, especially, you know, the way it can trigger anytime really. It has no cooldown, so it can trigger anytime your health drops below 40%. Right, I wouldn't really go for Reckless Offense or Energy Armor. I mean, Reckless Offense, you'd be better off going for that if you're more of a warfare class, so if you have already dual wield, so then Reckless Offense would be good. Otherwise, I think you might be better off with a shield, so keep your shield on. And Energy Armor, I usually find that skill to be quite underwhelming, so most of the times you have better skills to go for, and you'll have plenty of skills in this class that would require more of your skill points than this one. Okay, so Rune Word Feather, so this is one of those skills that as a melee version of this class you would go for this, but as a non-melee version you would ignore this skill completely, because this is about the strength requirement for weapons and also a bonus to offensive ability, so only melee classes will be actually gaining any kind of advantage from that. So definitely get this as early as possible if you're going melee with this class, but forget it entirely if you're a mage. Okay, Rune Word Explode, so you probably might not have enough spare skill points to go for this if you're a melee. If you're a mage, this would actually be a lot more helpful, but with the melee you might not get too much benefit out of this. Rune Word Absorb, this is another one. I wouldn't put it as highest priority. I'd say it's quite a low priority, but you could pop in like maybe one skill point into it just to get occasional absorption of energy going on. So yeah, maybe 1 or 2 points is enough really, unless if you have loads of spares, then you can max it out. Okay, then we have the Rune Storm, which is one of the newly added Atlantis skills, and I actually covered the newly added skills in another video, so I actually quite like Rune Storm. It's a really good skill, and especially for a melee version of this class this would be really useful actually, because it occurs around the area right around you, and it actually follows you. So it's not just stationary area, it actually just follows around you for a few seconds. So this would be highly suitable for melee characters. So as a melee version of this class, I'd definitely go for Rune Storm. It would be a nice way to deal some damage, and especially to deal a whole lot of debuffs on the enemies. Then we got Thunderstrike. Well, Thunderstrike is pretty much a must-have for any runes class, and especially if you're a melee, so I don't see a reason why you wouldn't go for Thunderstrike. So that's a no-brainer. Seal of Fate, yeah, I usually don't advise going for this skill, and you do have much better skills to go for, especially with some of the newly added ones. I think you have better than the Seal of Fate, because Seal of Fate takes quite a while to charge up, you know, it doesn't explode straight away, and the area for it is quite small. Enemies usually come outside of it. Now, Runic Mines are usually advised against it as well, but now with the newly added Atlantis skill, the one that adds a whole lot of other mines on there, then you could actually get it. I wouldn't say it's the highest priority skill. If you're actually going for the Runic Mines, probably better off if you're a mage actually, probably not so much as a melee version of this class. Although, as a melee, it could be alright as well, because you would want enemies to come to you after all, so could have some benefits as a melee. But I'd say it's probably more of a second priority for the skill. Particularly because also these mines deal mainly elemental damage, so you'd probably get more benefit out of them if you're a mage rather than a melee class. Okay, so Rune of Life, I usually recommend this for every runes class, so and especially as a melee because you get strength bonus, so I definitely go for it. It is a good skill also because it gives you vitality and bleeding resistances, so this is highly recommended to get it, quite early. Guardian Stones, probably not so useful for a melee version of this class because you'd be going up in the enemy's faces really. It will have more use as a mage. And okay, let's go on to Nature. So as a melee version, so you've got Heart of Oak, that's usually a no-brainer. I'd recommend that to every Nature class really. So Heart of Oak 3, that'll be really good. Regrowth, probably, you probably wouldn't have that many skill points to go for Regrowth. I mean, there are a lot of skills, good skills between these masteries, and Regrowth would be better for a pet build, really. So, as a melee version of this class, I wouldn't really go for Regrowth, unless you have a ton of skill points remaining. Now, Refresh, I actually didn't put any points in there, but I think 1 or 2 points in it could be okay. It's not gonna really do you much harm, but yeah, it could help you out from time to time, so I don't see why not. Briarwood, usually, I wouldn't really recommend, especially for a melee class. And you have better Guardian Stones, you don't need Briarwood. So I wouldn't really go for it as a melee. Overgrowth, that is a really good, that's one of the newly added skills to Nature, so I really like Overgrowth, so I would really recommend it for both the melee and the mage version of this class. Because it depends on how many skill points you'll have remaining, and you probably get more benefit out of it as a mage. Because as a mage, you'd want to keep enemies away from you, and this is what this skill does, it stalls them. For a melee, you get some benefit as well, but probably not quite as necessary as for a mage. Now, Wolves and Nymph, they require a ton of skill points, and as a melee version of this class, you probably wouldn't have enough for them, because it's no point just getting a couple of points in them, because they'll be useless. If you're going for them, you'd want to really max them out. So I probably wouldn't go for them as a melee version of this class, but you have to keep in mind, if this is the case, you'll be more vulnerable, because you'll have less meat shields around you. So you have to be really powerful glass cannon then. Plague could be actually quite helpful, so Plague is a good debuff, so I would go for Plague. Well, I would go for Plague either if you're a mage or a melee. So it's a good way to soften the enemies. So yeah, definitely go for that. Right, so now I'll cover the mage. I'm not going to cover everything, just the ones which are different. So the mage one, the things which are different in mage version. First of all, you're not going to go for rune weapon tree because that one doesn't work with staffs. So you can forget about rune weapon, and that frees up a ton of skill points for you, which you'll be putting into pets. Now, you will also forget about rune word feather, like I mentioned earlier. You're not going to need that. It's still a good idea to go for Rune of Life, because even though you're not getting the strength bonus, you are still getting the bonuses to your resistances in bleeding and vitality, so I'd still go for that. Runestone will be a little less useful here, because you're gonna be trying to keep the enemies away from you, so in that case maybe Runic Mines, that upgrade for the newly added upgrade to Runic Mines would actually be more helpful for a mage. Thunderstrike is still useful for a mage, because you just do powerful like a buckshot kind of attack, which just shoots several projectiles at once. Now, Guardian Stones would be one of the possible pets you could get, but I think in this case, because each of the pet trees are so skill point hungry, you will be really struggling in getting all the... There's something crazy going on outside. You'll be really struggling to find, allocate enough skill points to everything. So in here, I actually, if we see nature, there's really something crazy going on outside. I don't know what. Right. So in here I've gone for the wolves, but it'll be the same thing. You could spec that into nymph instead if you want, because especially with the With the newly added skill that they added in Atlantis, Nymph is now much better. Not quite as weak as she was before. Although wolves might still be better since you get, well, you get up to 3 of them really. So it really depends. You could go for both of them, but you have to make sacrifices elsewhere. Or you could go for one of them and some Guardian Stones in Rune Mastery, so that can work as well. The Overgrowth, that will be incredibly useful for a mage character to keep the enemies, away from you for as much as possible. Heart of Oak, definitely useful because not only is that gonna affect you, it's also gonna spread into all your pets. So the more pets, the more use from Heart of Oak. Plague would be pretty useful, so that will weaken the enemies and allow your pets to finish them off. So really, there's quite a lot of different possibilities you could go for this class. It can be quite a fun class, I think. The rest will depend up to you how you want to distribute your skill points. So I'll just cover the attribute points now. So for a melee version, you treat it like a hybrid class. So you go a bit of strength, intelligence and dexterity, and you prioritize strength a bit more because you'll be still, hitting with the melee weapons. And the intelligence could take care of itself because with the rune weapon, it will increase a lot of your intelligence. So you get a nice bonus to intelligence anyway. So I put 2 to 1 and to 1 between strength, intelligence and dexterity respectively. And if you're a mage or a pet monster build, then most of it would go into intelligence. You concentrate mostly on elemental damage. But you might want to actually spec quite a fair bit into energy. Actually, with both versions of this class, you'd want to put quite a lot into energy because a lot of these skills will be taking up a lot of your energy, especially casting pets, getting any of the spells like Thunderstrike to work. So yeah, I would not neglect the energy. Alright, so I hope this was helpful, and see you guys later. Bye bye.